Hello, and welcome back. This will be the third and final session of our training. Hello, Roger, glad to have you back. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Drusilla. It's good to be back and always a pleasure to see you.
Okay, let's get started. We ended the last session with a discussion of the value of knowing your personal cultural style. Now let's review the worksheets. Roger, would you go over the worksheet with the heading Cultural Intelligence Self-Assessment for us?
Certainly. The purpose of the worksheet is to help you identify your current cultural style. I use the phrase current cultural style intentionally because learning and accessing your cultural style is an ongoing process, and it is to be anticipated that as you grow and develop personally, it is possible that your ranking on the various scales will change. The instructions are pretty straightforward. You are being asked to circle the number on the scale which best describes your cultural style. The reason we chose a scale instead of another type of indicator is because few people are rarely either/or. I think anyone would agree that all human beings fall somewhere between the two extremes on any given scale, and that there are always grey areas when dealing with cultural style. The grey areas are represented by the spaces between the numbers on the worksheet. Let's look at the first scale, equality versus hierarchy. Reading through the definitions for the scale, we see that a person with a cultural style of equality would prefer to be self-directed, have flexibility in the roles they play in a company or on a team, have the freedom to challenge the opinion of those in power, make exceptions and maybe bend rules, and treat men and women in basically the same way. Where would you say you fall on this scale, Drusilla?
Well, Roger, I think I would rank myself between 4 and 5 on the scale, because although the description on the equality end of the scale is more appealing to me, I do believe in the enforcement of regulations and guidelines once they have been established, which would move my cultural style toward hierarchy on the scale. How about you?
Well, I think one thing to keep in mind is that the items listed under each scale refer to preferences, and with that in mind, I would say that I'm a 2 on this scale.
That's very interesting, Roger. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's also good you pointed out that these scales are based on preferences and not necessarily roles that we are fulfilling in business out of necessity. So what is the value of having this information?
The value of having this information is that if I am conducting business with someone who ranks as a 6 or 7 on this particular scale, and through self-assessment I know I rank at 2, I will have insight into how to do business with them, and hopefully a compromise can be reached that will allow both of us to meet our business goals and still maintain a harmonious work environment.
Thanks, Roger. I am interested in seeing how the trainees rank themselves on these scales. Hopefully we will have an opportunity to talk about them in the whole class discussion. Now let's look at the Traits for Success worksheet. This worksheet asks us to read through the listed traits and indicate whether a trait is a strength, significant strength, or traits that needs improvement. For the sake of time, we are not going to go through the entire list, but Roger and I have selected 5 traits we believe are essential for success in dealing with international cultures. The first is an appreciation of differences. I think this is a very important trait because we have to first acknowledge there are differences among people of different cultures before we can move beyond trying to fit everyone into the same mold, and before we can stop judging behaviors that are not like our own as inappropriate. The second is open-mindedness, which we define as a willingness to examine other perspectives. The third is the willingness to change yourself as you learn and grow versus changing others to suit you. Which traits did you select, Roger?
Well, I selected respect for others, or as it is often referred to, the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. I also chose humility because according to the scholar theory, We all have a self-reference criterion which assumes that one's own behavior is natural, logical, and correct, which causes us to typically judge different behavior as inappropriate, inferior, and ineffective. I think it takes humility to allow others to be themselves or to consider one of our pet views from another perspective.
Thank you, Roger. Well, that's all we have time for in this training session. In closing, I would just like to say that communication is an interpersonal activity. We do not communicate with large corporations and companies. We communicate with individuals. And usually communication takes place in one-on-one situations. Knowing your cultural style will assist you in making decisions about how to respond in different situations with other individuals of different cultures, and we believe it will make your business interactions with them more effective and productive. Goodbye, and thank you for your participation.